Spears and Steinberg.
You know what the fuck it is?
Aries and Andy, Jew and the Jerk.
You know it's time to get this work.
The real raw, gutter, uncut cocaine. No political corrections.
Always sleep.
Fuck being awoke. We discuss politics and jokes.
Scribe, we lit.
There's levels to this shit. Before you was sucking on your mama's tit.
Aries Spears don't give a fuck.
We talk about race a lot, racism,
Sexism.
Much love to my loyal bitch bag holders.
Rollers, clip loaders.
We got them in the folders.
The whole world on our shoulders.
Spears and Steinberg.
Yeah.
Contextually, you will get why I'm saying I apologize now when we get into the conversation, but I owe the comedy universe an apology. Based on what one of the three things that we're talking about today, which is
It's a three-parter.
Two
minis and a substantial one.
Yeah, a thing that I brought to Andy's attention called Old Dads. Written, directed, and starring Bill Burr on Netflix.
And produced. He was one of the producers.
Yeah, all things comedy.
He's making his money.
Yeah, and at first I kind of thought, because it's only an hour long, and I'm like, damn, this movie is an hour long. So then I thought, is this a series? Am I missing something? But no, it's a one and done.
Was it only an hour?
It was only an hour.
Oh, okay.
And then also I saw the comedy, not the comedy classic, but the movie classic that Andy told me I need to see that I've never seen, called Escape from New York with Kurt Russell.
John Carpenter film.
John Carpenter. And lastly, a great documentary on HBO entitled Albert Brooks Defining My Life. Because that is our world comedy. We got to do our homework, man.
It was better than I thought it was. Just before we even get into it, I just want to say that I thought it was going to be good, but I didn't know. I thought it was really good.
I'll save it.
Yeah,
but there's a reason why I'm apologizing, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
So, Old Dads with Bill Burr. I couldn't wait for you to see this because when I watched it on the plane back from Orlando, not Orlando, where were we last? Nyack.
Nyack, yeah.
You know, I just went, this is everything that you and I constantly talk about, which is the big middle finger to political correctness, wokeness, and all this sensitivity shit. And I went, Andy's gonna love this. And then I asked you when I saw you here in Tampa, what'd you think? You said you liked it, but you were mad at Bill Burr. And I'm wondering if you were mad at him for the same reason I'm mad.
I'll tell you the scene that made me mad.
Okay. Can I guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
When his wife turned on him and kicked him out the house.
Yes, but that's all part of one big bunch of bullshit that's in this movie. It was before that, because it started with okay. Now you have to see this movie because this is going to be completely out of context, and we're not going to go deep into it because
Bokeem Woodbine is in it. Bill Burr, I forget the third guy, character actor, and really, if I've never seen F is for Family. But this is who Bill Burr is.
Yes, and it's good. It's really good. There's some things that I thought were a little easy take on some of the things, but it had to be that way to move the movie along. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like he took any cheap shots. I don't feel like he did a silly joke. I felt like it was all intention to move this movie along. Mm-hmm. But what I will say, there was this area. As soon as it started, I'm on, what the fuck? And it starts off innocently, man. His wife has a problem with one of her girlfriends, and all the couples are friends. The guys are friends with the guys, and the women are friends with the women. And they say, don't say anything to her. And he's told not to say anything about anything. So, and every time he does open his mouth, he puts his foot in it and turns into something. Even if he's right, he puts his foot in it, and then he has to deal with the consequences. She goes and says something to the girl, to one of the other women in this film about her son, and rightfully so.
Who you wanted to smack?
And it was rightfully so that she should have. But it causes a rift with the friendship of Bill Burr and the other guy. And here's my problem with that. First of all, I had a couple problems and I wasn't mad at Bill Burr. I was mad at Bill Burr for making these parts this way. The guy, and I want to tell you his name. He's been in so many movies. So he,
the other friend,
yeah, it's kind of like he plays the Italian guy in a lot of movies.
He was the stepdad in Ant-Man.
Yeah, let me. I'll look it up and I'll get it in here. I may have to edit that in, Steve. So leave a spot right here. There's his name. Okay. What made me mad about it is, so you don't get this, and maybe this is why he did it the way he did it, and I thought it was kind of funny. He won't look at Bill Burr, and he won't sit next to Bill Burr. And Bill's like, why aren't you looking at what I can't talk about it. I can't talk about it. So basically, what I deciphered from that is that she must have said, I don't want you to talk to him. I don't want you to look at him. I don't want you to see him. I don't want any of his shit in our house. Don't hang out with Bill at all. And so that's what he does. He's not looking at it.
There are men that do that, though.
Yeah, but
let me tell you, dude. My girl's close friend, who used to live out of Florida, I think Miami, her name's Colleen. Her husband, David, ex-NFL player, he and I would play video games to death and online through the headset. And when my girl has a falling out with his wife, that means he has to have a falling out with me. And for a long time, this motherfucker, me and him would play the game religiously. All of a sudden now, he ignores all my fucking messages I send him on the game, won't play me, won't talk to me, won't respond. So there are men that do that.
Okay, there may be some men that do that. I don't know those men.
I don't want to know.
And I don't want them around me. But the thing is, this is happening at work. She can't see, at least with the video game, she might walk in, she might see that it says Aries Spears on it. I'm not giving it a pass because that shouldn't be happening. But if you want to protect your relationship and your relationship is built online playing games, that maybe not be enough to fight with your girl for. I could get that. And then if she walks in, she'll see that. I could get it, but maybe just send a note that says, hey man, I got to cool out for a while. My girl's being whatever. But he's at work. She's not going to see him, and they have to work together, and she knows it. And now he put her up. So that's one part. But the part that really just gets me and then grinds me is that Bill gets in trouble for everything that he says, whether he is right or wrong, and she has no consequences for causing that riff. She doesn't have any problems. She goes over and she accidentally runs into the third girl that's in this. It's a triangle all the way around here. So runs into the other girl, and she happens to be the one that she's having the riff with. And then they look at each other and they just go, she goes, well, I just hope we can put this past us. She goes, oh, I thought we already did. And that's some bullshit right there, too. Women don't let shit go like that at all. And he wrote this to be old dads, and I understand it's about old dads, but this is some bullshit where you let it go and you let the women seem like everything is fucking sunshine and roses.
Oh, but you do know, like, women throw grenades into your life and then step back when the damage is done and go, they pull a Urkel. Did I do that?
Yeah, I get that.
They do that.
But that was too easy what he did right there. But maybe because it's not the focus on the movie is about the dads and not them. The other scenes, there's some other scenes that I call bullshit on. But I thought all in all, it was funny. It was creative. It didn't become just a bunch of little meme kind of things.
Right.
There were real things that I could relate to. I enjoyed it. I love the fact he did it. I'm going to bring up somebody else, my friend Paul Verzi. He's in it. And I got to admit, you know, it's a quick scene. You wouldn't think much about it, but he captures a little bit of the moments when the fight's going on. You really like, who is this guy? You want to know who that guy is because he does the part really well. I thought he did it very well. So, of course, I like Paul, so of course I'm going to give him a little extra credit on that one. But I thought it was good. The movie's good. I just didn't like that little part. I don't like how I like the relationship that Bill has with everybody. I like the relationship most of the movie has. It's just this area where men are always wrong, women get away with it, and we go with it. That's the part of the movie in the middle I didn't like.
That's a huge slice of reality for a lot of people. You know, I almost wanted to insert my "Did your balls drop off?" my Heath Ledger Batman Joker, because a lot of dudes' balls drop off, man. Women hold dudes' balls in their purses, and that's why I said this. And I've said on this podcast, and I've said to you many times, this stereotype that men are these babbling idiots. We can't do nothing without the help of our women. We can't tie our shoes. We're idiots. They tell us what to do. When it's just like, okay, yeah, you know what? Yes, there are some dudes like that, but I didn't come from that. My father was the man, and he made sure he was the king of the castle. But he didn't let my mother tell him what to do.
I did. I agree with everything that you're saying. What I did like about the movie is that it does show, this is what I liked about it, and I don't think it's as hard as the movie made it, but the women do evolve a little easier. Like they will pick up better habits, let's say that way. They can become, I don't know if it's real but I can see women tend to go into to present better habits. And men, we get kind of rigid. Where we came from, how we came up, what we do, and we stay in kind of. That's why so many dudes, and I'm going to say this about men, wherever you peaked, that's what you look like. That's how your hair stays. It's how your clothes look. It's the kind of car you drive. It's kind of what you become when you peak at a certain level, and then you want to stay rigid into that. We do that. And it takes us a while to get out of it. Doesn't mean we have to stay there, but we have to be made aware of it, and then we kind of can move on sometimes. Women are a little bit more, they adjust a little easier to what's going on, I think. I think women are more capable of adjusting where we're a little bit more rigid.
Have you ever allowed or had a moment, a sleep on the couch moment, like this thing where she kicks him out of the house? And I just go, where is this rule that says that when a woman gets upset as a dude, you have to not sleep in your bed? You got to sleep on the couch or be kicked out of your fucking house because she's mad?
I didn't get kicked out of the house. I didn't understand that. I get go to the sofa. I'll go to the sofa. I don't care.
You voluntarily?
I'll move to the sofa.
Yeah, your girl ain't never said, yo, you can't sleep in this room tonight.
No. But I've gotten in a fight with when I was married. I mean, I went to the sofa. I got in a fight. We went to the sofa. I didn't even give a shit, man. Sofa, we had a bigger TV out there. The sofa was comfortable. Sometimes I fell asleep at the sofa with not a fight. So what difference did it make if there was a fight? Now I'm going to go sleep where I enjoy sleeping anyway. So it wasn't a big deal. But to be kicked out of the house, that's over a fight. Now, if it would have been like a knockdown, drag out, like screaming, this was a fight. It wasn't like it was what he did to someone else is what made this fight go off, and then she's kicking him out. I get that we can become rigid and we can sometimes not be flexible, and we need to be able to improve ourselves sometimes for the people around us, our kids, and to do some other things. But there's a reason we're like this, and this is why humanity has survived, is because we are rigid and we take a stand and we are against certain things. And at the end of the movie, and this is, I guess, the end, he's changing, he's evolving at the end of the movie. Bill's like, I'm going to do these things that a little help, a little bit, it's not a bad idea, get a little help, be shown. But the bitch that started this whole thing goes to jail. And everybody was still Bill Burr's, it was still the Bill Burr character's fault. Right. But the bitch who started everything is off to jail.
You don't feel, and this is where I got a little bit disappointed, because I know it, and in a movie, the character has to have an arc. He has to evolve. Yeah. So I get the part about it, that part of the movie having to happen, but it made me feel like the whole scene where he gets to the hospital, his son's already born, or his daughter. And he starts crying and talking about therapy, and he'll go to sold out a little bit.
See, that part bothered me.
That bothered me a little bit.
I didn't get into this because that's the other part where I said at the end that it kind of, also, he comes back. Here's the other, because this is the reality of it. This is the real reality. And this, I wasn't going to take this part on, but since you brought it up, let's do it. It doesn't go down that way. He comes in with stripper glitter on his head.
Right.
He ain't staying in the room. He got kicked out of the couch for having a fight with someone else, not even with his wife, just his attitude.
Right.
And he comes in with drinking and stripper glitter on his head.
Right.
He ain't staying in the room. He wasn't allowed to stay in the house. He ain't allowed in that room.
Right.
That's not going to happen that way.
Even though he's seeing his daughter.
He's seeing his daughter, but she ain't going to give. I'm having a baby, and you have moved out, and now you're with strippers. You're with strippers on the night I'm having my baby. You can't even make it here because you're with strippers. You think she's going to let that go? She didn't let the other shit go. So that whole fight is that's the through line that aggravates me on her character and his character. The movie's good. Let me just say it. I just had a personal, feeling about the character in there, but the movie itself, I would go see it.
I like Bill Burr being Bill Burr and calling people out on their bullshit. And again, maybe this is where I'm not being realistic. And again, I say it has to have an arc, has to evolve. It has to be the movie. But I'm like, damn, let my hero of the moment or of the movie be the hero all the way through. Could there not have been a way for him to kind of evolve, but still stay true to who he is?
Yes.
Because between the crying and the damn the begging, it just came off pathetic to me.
A little bit, but I still think the movie's good and worth seeing. Because it was definitely funny. It has all the right notes. That little part that you're talking about, it doesn't ruin the movie for me, but it would have been cool if it would have finished out with some way that he could have. But he kind of still has his attitude. He just is gonna he's going to temper his attitude. The movie doesn't make me feel like he's going to become like the
pussy.
Yeah, he's just going to temper his attitude a little bit so that he's more manageable to other people. And they kind of did that because when the guy goes, "Hey, you got your the very end of the movie, you got that. I want you to see this." But there's a scene at the end when he could have been the asshole that he always was. Instead of being the asshole, he says the right thing, and then he goes that. Whatever he called him an asshole at the end of the movie.
Right.
That asshole, whatever it was. So he's staying the same.
Yeah.
He's staying the one scene that I really do like. And
incidentally, the black nurse that was in the hospital. That's his wife, Nia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't know that was his wife. I knew that his wife
yeah.
is Nia, but I didn't know that was her.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't even notice it. I wasn't even paying attention at that point. I was getting kind of mad at that point because that's the point where I'm going, yeah, stripper glitter. We're not going to address this.
Who'd have thought a fucking Bostonian like Bill Burr would run into Dackies? Jesus. Fucking Christ. I mean, between you and me, the Dackies are not to die for. Bobby Patterson, by the way.
Before Bobby Patterson's run out of the room, when the Bill Burr's married to a black woman.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Has kids. Did you think?
Fucking
and they started off and he's
fucking little, what do they call it? Little chocolate things you eat, the candies. The goobas? He's got the gooba kids. Jesus.
You would think.
The milk dud kids. Go ahead, kid.
With the way that everybody's being politically correct now and trying to be all inclusive, I would have thought that they would have started it off with he was married to the black girl. That's why I think it kind of stayed a little bit I don't think they wanted to touch on it. This was just the old dad's kind of movie.
Listen, between you and me, the only time I like seeing black shit in a movie is when the credits are over and the screen goes dark. That's when I tolerate the darkies, kid. But let me let you guys get back to what you were talking about. Bobby Patterson, by the way.
The scene that I do like, that I think is that I like his touch on this, is when he's kicked out of the house and he's staying at the motel. And I like and motel, by the way, that's not right. It's not because it's a motel because it has that middle part. A motel is a motor hotel. That's what motel is. It's a hotel and motor. So you drive your car up, you put it in there, you park it in front of your room or by your room or somewhere. That's a motel. A hotel is where you go and it's parking service and you go in and your car isn't part of your stay. You're not looking out the window to make sure no one's stealing your shit out of your car.
Right.
Anyway, but in that scene he gets out and he sees the girl across the way. And a lot of movies always make that play like when you're oh, well, now I'm on my own. I'm going to have this challenge. Look at this girl. I can.
Right.
And she just sits there and then she lets out the most wicked
and she's
burp.
hideous.
And the wickedest burp ever.
She's a stand-up comic.
Yeah, I do know she's a stand-up comic. And I thought that shit was funny. That was funny. That was a great. It was disgusting. It was called for to be a silly comedy, and it hit what it needed to hit, though.
What'd you think about the car scene with the dude in the N-word?
I loved that scene, actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I love that scene. I love the scene because he's going. I love when he's like, "You're not going to go. It's NWA. You're not getting past it. You're not getting past. You got your groove. You're not going to stop. You're not going to stop."
Right.
I thought that they handled it as good as they could, as good as any movie's done it before it. I thought they did a good job with it, and it was funny then at the end of the movie they catch him in his his apartment.
Yeah, and then he said it like a motherfucker.
Like 100 times.
Yeah.
So it was good.
Yeah,
You would. I mean,
it's listen. If you're a Bill Burr fan, it's definitely worth the watch. And again, if you are anti-politically correct, anti-woke, anti this bullshit, that's what it is. So I loved it for all those reasons. Again, my only issue was, him being a little pussified at the end, and then him being kicked out of his own house.
Okay. This is for Steve. Steve, it's Bobby Cannavale. Bobby Cannavale is Connor Brody. He's the friend to Bill Burr. And I think if there's anyone else I want to throw in here really quick, I'm sorry. Any other names I want to give out? Oh. I didn't ask you about that. Do you know who Bruce Dern is?
Bruce Dern sounds familiar.
He's an actor. He's an old actor, and he's been in a lot of crucial movies. And then he's the taxi cab driver or the Uber driver.
Oh, right.
I didn't know if you would know because it's movies before our time. It's a little caught the end of my time, but I didn't know if it was yours. I was looking for who else is in this, but okay. I think that kind of covers that one, I guess.
Yeah. Escape from New York.
I've been wanting you to see that movie for quite a while.
Absolute trash.
What?
That shit was garbage.
You got to be
That
kidding.
was complete garbage.
You got to be
That
kidding.
movie did nothing for me.
Dude, do you know when it was made?
Nothing.
Do you know when it was
You know
made?
what I said to myself? I was like, dude, listen, there are certain movies you see as a little kid that, like home cooking, you don't appreciate until you get older in life. And I just went, even if, so yeah, as a kid, I probably might not have liked that movie because it just was some shit going on I wouldn't have been able to comprehend. But I thought, even if I was in my prime, in my 20s and 30s, and saw this movie where I could understand it and should embrace it, I would have felt the same way. That shit was garbage.
No,
nigga.
because the time
You
was
like weird movies,
81.
man.
The time was so different. But there's certain things about this movie that I absolutely love.
That movie is just a much better version of Buckaroo Banzai.
No, it's not even close to Buckaroo Banzai.
In a good way or a bad way?
Neither. It's just not. It doesn't. It's not the same. It's just not the same to me. But my favorite. I have some favorite scenes in that movie that are just funny to me looking back on them. Did you see when he calls his guys towards the end and he has his phone, his cell phone? It's the size of a shoebox, dude.
Yeah. I used to own the construction worker.
Yeah, but that's a two-piece phone, the construction worker phone, right?
No, that long, big brick with the black hard.
Yeah, that was the one that they used in Wall Street. That was the one.
Okay,
yeah. They're doing business. That was a big-ass phone back then.
Yeah.
The phone that he had was the size of a shoe. He had to hold it with two hands and put it up to his head. Right. And I was like, this is supposed to be 1997. And they missed by a long way of what 97 was going to look like. But that's the interpretation. That's why I'm saying this is just from a different time period where they didn't even see what 97 was going to look like. The scene where he goes over the explosive and the cab breaks into two pieces in a completely perfect cut.
Right.
They go into two separate pieces. I wonder if John Carpenter looks at that and goes, I probably could have handled that scene better.
I'm watching this movie and I'm going, they needed a sequel to this?
People love this movie, man.
Oh my God. What was John Carpenter's last great hit?
I don't know. Let's see.
Was he known? Was his genre like horror?
Yeah.
And this didn't feel like a horror movie though.
No.
But I mean, it had a little bit of.
It was an adventure movie, an action.
Oh,
an action
shit.
movie. I don't know how you didn't like some of it.
Dude, this shit was trash, my dude.
Dude, when they put the things in his neck that it's going to explode if he doesn't get back in time, and the guy, I thought some of that stuff was cool, and he gives him the wrong tape. You didn't like any of that. None of that stuff did anything.
I rolled my eyes so many times during this movie. I thought it was kind of spooky though how they kind of slightly predicted 9/11.
Yeah. A little
the
bit.
plane hitting
Plane
the-
going into that one building, but
Right, but it looked like it was aiming for the
those.
Trade Center.
When I watched this, I hadn't seen it in a long time.
Right.
And when I saw it going in, I go, "Oh, if that hits 9/11, this is going to. If it hits the
Right,
World
right.
Trade, it's going to be weird."
Right.
And then it veered off and hit the other building. I was like, "I'm glad it hit the other building." What did you think of? Well, do you know who Ernest Borgnine is?
Yeah,
You knew who he was, yeah.
He was in one of the great Gene Hackman movies, the first version, the original version, Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was in a lot of older Western movies too. And
Yeah.
I never met my great grandfather. My great grandfather died 2 weeks before I was born, and he was an actor in Old Tucson.
Really?
He was a carpenter, but he did acting too, and he was in a bunch of movies with Ernest Borgnine. He knew him pretty well, so that was kind of true. When you saw Isaac Hayes, nothing for you?
Listen, and of course, Isaac Hayes' introduction into the movie is a Cadillac with chandeliers, actual chandeliers,
Glass chandeliers
as headlights. And prior to this moment, with no brothers, and I went, oh, so here the niggas come. Cadillac with 2 chandeliers as lights. I was like, yeah, man, here come the niggas.
So nothing for you in this.
Nothing,
You,
dude.
you didn't. What about when they finally reveal Snake Plissken with no shirt on and he has the cobra tattooed
Yeah, this dude.
coming out of his pants?
What the fuck is Escape from LA about?
I don't even remember, dude. I thought Escape from New York was like a fun movie to watch. I didn't take it. So there's some people that really love that movie.
Oh my God.
I thought it was a fun movie to watch at that time. In 1981, it was so ahead of his time. By 97, when it's supposed to be taking place, it was so behind times.
Everybody looked like Billy Idol.
Yeah. Well, that was ahead of its time. Billy Idol was out, but you didn't see him until later.
Dude, this shit.
So nothing for you.
Nothing, dude.
All the people,
That's the end of my notes on that.
also all the people said, "Yeah, check this out." You're like, "No."
Trash, dude.
All right, let me see. He was The Fog, Halloween, obviously Dark Star. I'm seeing this is what he's known for. Escape from New York. Those are the ones he's known for. And the only one that you really care about is Halloween.
Yeah, that's the one I know him for.
Yeah, that's it. Those are his, no, not that's not all his movies. Those are his the ones that they say like IMDb says known for. Yeah, then there's a lot of Halloween movies. Yeah, man, I'm sorry you didn't like it. I thought it was worth looking at. I love looking at.
Boo.
I love when they try to show all the technology that's coming and they're not even close. Some movies get it a lot closer.
Yeah, well, this was trash. God.
So you would rather see Buckaroo Banzai?
Damn near.
I'd like Buckaroo Banzai.
This was just a cooler version of that.
And you got to understand, when Snake Plissken was being Snake Plissken in 1981,
Yeah, talk like that.
that was pretty cool. He was doing a cool job back then.
Yeah, that worked for then.
Yeah, with his
So
eye patch.
cheesy now.
But this is 81.
So this Albert Brooks thing, this is where my apology comes in. Kind of in a bad mood this morning, getting into it with my broad. And listen, what I'm about to say, I'm not saying I don't believe that there's no truth to this, because I think there is a little bit of truth to this. But one, I got to apologize to the comedy universe, because I just didn't know a whole hell of a lot about Albert Brooks. I knew that he ventured into stand-up at one point, and he was more known for movies. But as this thing unfolds, and it's about an hour and 29 minutes, and it delves deep into his life. This motherfucker was a motherfucker, because the opening moment where they start off with him doing the bit about how he talks about he's run out of material, then he rips his shirt open, does all the egg gag, the whipped cream, the seltzer. I just felt like, dude, I know that this comedy thing is a fraternity, but sometimes it feels like there's a lot of ass kissing. Of people praising you, and I'm just going, that opening moment, was that really that funny?
Back then?
But see, and that may be part of the key, back then.
Well,
because the way, Chris Rock was describing it, and they cut into certain comedians' laugh. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Was that really that funny, or y'all kissing ass?
No, I think it's really that funny because at the time, jokes were a certain setup and punch, and he's actually making fun of the jokes. He's actually making fun of silliness in comedy. He's actually making fun of how people did comedy at that time and doing it in a way that was funny. And I thought it was very clever. It was original. But that being said, there's other people who say that he was the start of the what's the other comedy that people alt comedy? He was he was probably the entrance to alt comedy. I don't believe that because there was other people who were doing alt comedy that I think was different at that time too. But I thought his was very. I thought that was really original, and I liked the way that it made fun of contemporary comedy at that time. It was telling you that you can be silly, but that's not comedy.
Well, like when they cut to him doing the two bits, which I thought comedically were kind of in the same vein, the mime that talks, and then the ventriloquist that's so horrible at it. Clearly, he's talking where the dummy should be, and I just went, I just felt like there's a lot of praise being given to this dude, and based off what I had seen thus far, I just felt like this is just ass kissing. But this is where, again, I apologize. I never knew his filmography was that deep. Producer, writer, star, cartoon voiceover, book, talk shows, fucking albums, stand-up, serious actor. And I was wrong. I was wrong.
The thing that surprised me in that, and I just want to say, because we probably won't talk that much about this, so I want to say it now. When you said talk shows, and the idea at that time, especially the time when he came up, you get on Johnny Carson, you're getting a deal, your life changes. New bit, not worked out, going on Johnny Carson and just throwing something out there just to be funny, not worrying about what comes tomorrow.
That's called improv.
Yeah, that's balls, though. That's no one else was going to do that. Right. There was no one doing it. He was like, I know what funny is. This is funny.
But Chris Rock had said, which is I absolutely agree with, is he basically said the ability to wing it, the ability to just that's a powerful brain to be able to just go unrehearsed, unscripted, and be funny. And I went, it's called improv.
Yeah, but in a room of 500 people, there's no problem. I mean, there is a problem, but I mean, it still takes balls to do it in a room of 500 people. But it's 500 people that are going to go home, and after that moment is over, that moment dissolves. It's only what those 500 people in the room interpreted that as. If you do it on national television, and Johnny's audience was millions at the time watching that doesn't go away, and it's recorded. It stays there forever. It doesn't disappear. There is a trick to doing it when you do it in a comedy room and a live performance. Like I said, you can do it. If it goes, you're a winner. If it doesn't go, just tomorrow. But that's going to live forever. Yeah. And so that is a very ballsy thing. And I want to make sure I correct one of the things I said. I said he's showing what's not funny about all comedy's funny. That's what he was making fun of. You're going to laugh at the silly stuff. But is that the comedy you want to do? What kind of comedy do you want to do? Is it just jokey joke good enough? There was a lot into that piece where he's spraying himself and he hit himself into the pie and the eggs. And I thought it was really a unique idea. I thought it was. I was always a fan of his.
Right.
But I like the movies. And one of my favorite movies is
well, I definitely think I have to do some extensive homework on him because, like I said, I vaguely, I know he tried stand up a little bit, and he even alluded to this and that he didn't really care for it like that. But the movies, I remember him being in movies, but I never really watched anything. I never really, you know what I'm saying? And and when they started talking about that one movie, Modern Romance,
it's a great movie,
which I've never seen, which I definitely want to see because when they showed the clip and talked about what it was about and who he was in it, I felt like, man, there's some parallels to what I'm going through right now in that. So that definitely piqued my interest. And you know, when Chris Rock described him as one of the deepest thinkers and his approach to things. That's something that's something that's got me going. Yeah, man. See how this dude moved, because some of the other movies they brought up, I went, wow, okay, I didn't see it from that angle. That approach is to be studied.
I'm going to say this, and people might disagree with what I'm about to say, and that's okay. I'm gonna say one of the reasons that you might not have caught a lot of his work or seen a lot of his work or were even anticipating any of his work. I'll say it like they said it to Seinfeld when they were trying to see if there was a place for him on television. They said, you're a little too New York, which means Jewish. There's a very Jewish element to the way that he plays his character.
Right.
And so I think that is, he was before Seinfeld. And I'm not saying Jerry Seinfeld opened the door for Jews to be in a mainstream audience, but Seinfeld did make being Jewish very mainstream in America on television. People still watch every night. He's on every night somewhere in the syndication,
right?
And he's way before that. So I think that's some of the things that is missed. And I think as people go back and see who he is, they'll be they'll be pleasantly surprised. I don't know. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say I wonder how this will hold up, because I haven't seen some of these movies in a while. One of my favorite movies is Broadcast News. And
that's the one I knew him from.
That's an amazing character. The way he plays it. I think that it's Holly Hunter is in that, and William Hurt. Those three right there. That movie was really a special movie, where you kind of. The love triangle between them. And then what I like about his movies is if you watch Broadcast News, none of them get each other. They all go out and have their own separate lives. So these moments that are so critical, that define you sometimes, they're not lasting moments. They just prepare you for the next moment, which is a very higher concept of an idea.
Well, just based off of what I saw in the clips, the writing seems unique. Like in Mother, which is another one that piqued my interest based on the clip, where he goes to his mom. She goes, I love you. Well, I know you think you do.
Yeah.
Like, that was an interesting way to put that. Again, some of the dialogue in Broadcast News, some of the dialogue in Modern Romance, the movie he did about life after death. There's just, in the writing and in the words and in the circumstances, you go,
And you got to understand, the movies that he wrote, produced, and the ones he made, the ones he directed, starred in, these aren't, he had, now I'm going to forget the name of the movie. The one you're talking about is after he died, Defending Your Life. Meryl Streep's in it, but only because of the relationship. Like, she knew his work, they ran into each other, she wanted to do a movie, so she's in it.
Right.
He's a very, his movie style is very unique, and not overproduced. And I don't know if that's because, as we learn with Sylvester Stallone, sometimes you don't have the money, and it works out better that way. So he wasn't given tons of money to do the movies that he wants to do, because his movies we hope that they're going to make money. They know they're good movies. And then I like how he said something, though, in there, too. When he's talking about, who's the director for The Shining?
Stanley Kubrick.
Yes.
Kubrick.
Yeah, calls him and says, your movie's great. The movie, if it's not going to be a success, it's decided by the studio. The studio decides.
And let me tell you something, man. This is why I'm telling you, dude, I don't wish this business on anyone. I really don't. And before you get knee deep in it, from the outside looking in, again, when I started out at 14 and moved to LA by 16, 17, there's a certain amount of naivete that you have, because you haven't been diddled by the industry yet. You know what I'm saying? And again, what's so crazy is, for some people, a very select few, it can pop off the way you imagine it. And if you're one of those fortunate ones, God bless you. But for most people, you have to get diddled. You have to go through the shit. And When you're on the outside looking in, you think the glitz, the glamour, the fame, the money, the all the shit you can get, the adulation. Who wouldn't? But then the road to accomplishing any of it is so treacherous. It's so Indiana Jones-like. Watch out for the pit with the fucking spikes. Look out to the arrows coming through the fucking wall, the rolling ball. And I just go, because this movie that I got these writers writing, and I'm just going, it's so hard to make a movie. Get it made, get financing. Then once you even do all that, sell it. If the studio's got to dabble in it and fuck it up and give you drama. And when he said that line about the studio decides if it's a hit, not the people. Uh-huh. I mean, ultimately, yes, the people will when it gets to them. They, box office receipts. But when Stanley Kubrick says to him, your shit is fine. We've tested it. The audiences love it. The idea that reality is there and you want to lean on, yes, the buying public loves it. We got it. But nah, the studio can fuck all that up. Why would you want to do this shit? It's such a headache. That's why I'm telling you, man, I on one end, half of me goes, I'm going to do this motherfucker till the wheels fall off. This is my dream. I'm going to have to be in the ground. You got to bury me before I quit. But then the other half of me is going, work on an escape plan. Get you some money, nigga, buy you some property, move out to West Bumfuck somewhere where you can live like a king, get a bitch. She don't even have to have teeth now, and retire. Because this shit is just, it's crazy.
I honestly don't need this. Honestly. I don't.
I'm starting to think I don't either.
I would love for something to happen, but I'm in that place where, like, if it doesn't happen in the next 2, I'm very comfortable walking away. I'm very comfortable with it.
I think it would eat me alive to walk away, but it's eating me alive to not walk away.
Yeah, you have to decide how you want to be eaten, because you're definitely going to be eaten some by something. It's the truth, though. We're all going out of here. The things that when you're talking about the studio, the business, the entertainment, I call it the machine.
Call it the rape.
But here's the thing, dude. This is, and you'll know this better than most, and I know this just because I listen. How many, honestly, think about this for a second. How many movies do you think are actually on a shelf that could have made someone's career that the studio just said, we're not going to release it for whatever reason they choose?
Gazillion.
They're just sitting on a shelf. They spent millions on them, but they're just sitting on a shelf. Could have changed someone's life, and it's just sitting on a shelf.
Fuck a movie. I've said this. I've done scenes that could have maybe changed my life, put me in a different place, that cut room floor. Scenes. So you're talking about a movie, scenes. Insert Allen Iverson has just entered the chat. Scenes. Not a movie. We talking about scenes. God damn.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. But to see someone like and this is what makes him unique, though. He never. Well, here I'm going to get to one of his quotes, and I don't know. I might be jumping way too far ahead.
That's fine.
But I love this quote that he said. He said, Albert, you always have to take.
You think I see 2 roads? Love that quote.
Was that amazing?
Jesus.
Do you think
That's my life, nigga.
I wouldn't take the easier road if I saw it?
Oh,
you think
that spoke to me.
I think there is 1,000 people that saw that, thousands of people that saw that scene that are in this business and saw that and went, holy shit. Everybody's telling me I'm always taking the wrong road. I didn't know. This was the one I was on.
Right.
This is the one I see. I can't. How do you see the other road when you're on the road that you're on?
Dude, when he did the movie about going Muslim to Muslim countries to try to see what makes them laugh, and in India, and the title of the movie was it had Muslim in the title.
Yeah. What makes people laugh? What? Oh, here, I'm going to try to find it. I'll find it. Go ahead.
Yeah,
keep going.
but then the cartoon thing happened.
Where they killed the was it the producer? No, of the
cartoonist.
It was in London.
Yeah, and so now the studio wanted to do the movie. Is that it? Is that it?
Yeah. Right there.
Looking for comedy in the Muslim world. So the studio made him take out and change the title to just Looking for Comedy. And he goes, the point of the movie is the title. So you're cutting my legs off by doing that. That's the whole point of the movie is the title. And again, I to anybody with an ounce of creative integrity, that's the worst thing you could do is fuck with their creativeness. Because that's what we live, that's what we breathe, that's who we are. And I've said this before to the people at the studios, just write the fucking check. Leave creative forces alone. Let them do what they do. But because they write the check, they gotta dabble in it. And it takes the oomph right out of you.
I wonder if you could have got away with calling it Looking for Comedy in the Muslim World and Germany.
Germany? Why Germany?
Because Germany doesn't really have stand-up.
Right.
They don't. It doesn't really translate in their culture to that isn't.
We stand up when we say Heil Hitler.
I wasn't going there.
Okay.
But you could go there if you want to. It doesn't go. They're very their language doesn't really make for good stand-up, I guess. The culture doesn't really lean toward. They're just now getting stand-ups, like from what I understand.
Right.
It's just very difficult because it's not part of that
Right.
culture. But a lot of cultures have problems with comedy because comedy is making fun and poking fun at yourself or
Right.
someone else or the culture.
And I thought that was a very unique and brave thing to do. It felt like a Borat moment.
Yeah.
To go to really try to figure out what makes people in the Muslim world and an Indian world laugh so we can better understand you.
And to be, but as a comic, could you imagine like getting up in front of a group of people that you know this is going to be the hardest show?
Yes.
Of your
and
life.
that's balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know it's funny.
Yeah.
But you know they're not going to laugh. And
Let me tell you, that was one of my biggest fears first time I toured Europe. Because I was just like, yeah, I know pop culture shit they'll get, but racial shit, black-white relations in America, what we as black people go through in our own country, will that touch them? And, and they knew some of it, but it doesn't translate like it does here. Of course, anything sexual, because everybody has sex, so that's easy translation. So I had to lean on that, and they love when I did the accents and shit and impressions, but, some of my meat and potatoes I was worried about.
Yeah, it's, all, like you said, even in the United States, you're not a comic until you roam all over the country so that you can see what
Right.
works in different places. So
Right.
now add some water to that.
Right. Right.
But he is a genius, man. I have.
Listen, again, when you look at everything from, I didn't know he did, I forgot or didn't really know he did voiceover work in cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
Finding Nemo. I just went, and when he's done everything. Voiceover, great serious actor. When it was James L. Brooks who said, yo, he's got the technique. Like he's a trained dramatic actor. So yeah, and anytime you can be I call it a Jason Bateman or a Jamie Foxx, great at straight and comedy, that's hard. And he was great at both. And he's a director and he's a writer and he's a producer. He's done albums, talk shows, like he does it all.
Did you remember the scene where the director asked him, why would I see you as a villain?
Yeah.
And he grabs him, puts
Right.
him up against the wall
Yeah.
and whispers to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man, he's a bad motherfucker. I just, like I said, I was in a bad mood. And so I was looking at this with some, bullshit on my mind. But you can't deny, you can't.
And you had just seen Escape from New York, so you weren't.
Yes,
feeling
I was really pissed.
What else I was going to say?
He said something that you said to me. And I'm wondering if did you say this because he said it or because you just happened to say it and it's true? but the movie about death and waking up, and he described a colonoscopy.
No, when he
It's the
said it,
best sleep.
I was shocked when he said it because I used to do a joke about it.
No, you said on the podcast
Yeah.
way back when you was like, it's the best sleep you'll ever
before
have.
I ever worked with you, I used to do a
Right.
joke about my colonoscopy because I was so impressed by it.
Right.
Because I said that's sleep, and I talk about propofol because that's the drug that they gave you. He didn't.
Right.
He described it as the colonoscopy. You don't have to get the colonoscopy. You could just get the propofol.
which I'm scheduled to get, I think, in 2 weeks.
Make sure you get the propofol though. That thing, I'm telling you, you wake up and you feel so good, and then all of a sudden you start coming to reality and you realize what world you're in. And you know those movie scenes where the camera just comes at you. You come at the camera really fast, like the camera meets you.
It's like a Spike Lee moment.
Yeah, because on Spike Lee it keeps moving with you. You know
Right,
where
right,
it just
right,
all of a
right.
sudden life is just in your face.
Right.
There's maybe like a second go by, maybe depending on how out you are, a few seconds goes by. But when you realize that you're alive, awake here on this earth, your feet are on the ground, you're going to get up and walk out of that room, life comes at you that fast. And all of a sudden you're just like right back in the moment. That relaxation that you felt went to, it doesn't go, I want to say, I'm pretty, I have some issues. So to me, it took me right into a state of terror because I went from feeling the most relaxed I ever been to being back in my world. And as soon as I got back into my world, I was like, that's, how do I want to go back there because that is so perfect.
Right.
That was perfect. And this is just my life and I can't.
Right.
And that's when I really felt how I really think that moment changed me in a lot of ways. Because I was talking to even Tara about this the other day because Tara and I had a little argument the other day and it wasn't a big argument. It was a little argument. And I needed to get her attention in this argument. And I spoke loudly. Not yelled, not screamed, but I spoke. I was like, "Damn it! You need to hear what I'm saying." And then afterwards, I go, "I haven't been in one of those moments for a long, long time. I've been, and I love being at peace. It's hard to stay there. It's hard to stay there doing what we do. It's hard to stay there with, people wouldn't think you're up there, you're doing your job. And like we were talking about this the other week, that guy I have this altercation with." It was just verbal. He threatened to come up on stage. I invited him, but he didn't come up. But I'm just sitting there. I have this job, and it's a weird job. I go out and I talk to people. My job is weirder than yours, and let me tell you why it's weirder than yours. I go up to a crowd that doesn't know that I'm going to be there, and they have to listen to me for my 25, 30 minutes of talking to them. When they came to see you, they know, most of them know what you're going to talk about. They know who you are. And even when I do certain jokes, I know, and I said it even the other night, you just don't trust me. It's funny, but you don't trust me yet. And I have to deliver these things that I brought knowing what their intentions are. But they don't know me and they don't have any security in my intentions or belief.
You know how I know what you're saying is definitely accurate. And this is part of what feels cool about being in my position. Like the other night, I got on stage and I remember this little Hispanic lady said something, and not to be, a dick. She just, was cheery and happy, and even during your set, she blurted out something and you addressed her. And again, not in a mean-spirited way. But she said something, and I killed it immediately. I turned and went, listen, bitch, shut the fuck up. and there was one dude who was next to his man, and he was like, see, almost to go, I told you this nigga's wild. This is the type of nigga he is. And he was excited, because like you say, he knew what he was getting.
Right.
They came for what they know, they trust, they already know, you go see an Ari Spears show, this nigga, even when I do the transgender shit, and people are like, I could see it in their face and they're nodding their head and their body language where they're going, see, this nigga don't hold back. He tells the truth. We like that. That's why we here. So the trust is already there.
It's built in.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that lady that you're talking about, if I would have went after her as hard as you did, even those same guy who goes, yeah, they would have looked at me like, who does he think he is?
Maybe.
I'm not saying that that's 100%, but there is, because I'm not who they came to see. I don't have the.
But the beauty of what we do is, depending on what comes out of your mouth, sell it.
Yeah. By the end of the set, I could say that. At the beginning of the set, now I have to work through that. It's very different. And I forgot where we were the other week, and I was finishing up my set, and I said, yeah, and they were like applauding. They were really applauding.
Right.
They were into it. And I go, yeah, just remember when I first walked out here, you didn't think I was going to you didn't think I was going to be fucking any good. Just remember that when you go home.
Right.
Because I was pissed. This is the problem with me. I'm pissed when they like me, and I'm pissed when they don't. So what the fuck is the difference? That's why I can walk away from this in 2 years.
Dude, you know, and like with the slide doc, and this is why the more even as we talk about this, I really want to do my homework now on this dude, because one of the through line between some of what Sly is, and I think anything creative, whatever the movie is about, the movie is about. But I think the thing that binds people is that it's got to be human. The truth and that human connection. And a lot of the previews that they showed of his movies, again, with dialogue, there was just such a human element to the words and the writing. Like when he talked about that movie Mother, and then how that kind of played into his real relationship with his mother. And he said, when it comes to human beings, normal human emotions, regardless of people being your siblings, there's jealousy and there's envy. And I even alluded to that before seeing this when we talked about Sly a little bit with the father and the brother. I go, you would think you have safety in family, trust, love, but sometimes family do you dirty more than friends because of envy. Like, because I'm your brother or your mother or your father, that doesn't mean I'm devoid of natural human emotions. Jealousy, envy. That's why I said me and my sister didn't get along for 20 years, because she was jealous of the fact that my mother nurtured me and pushed me and found my gift and was with me like that, versus not with her. But, you know, her circumstances didn't demand that. And I was jealous of her and mad at her because my father never took me seriously. And when we went out on 23rd Street, where Gotham is, back in the day to sell the tapes, he would be like, nah, you don't handle the money. You're too silly. You can go run errands. You can go in the store, get me my cigarettes when I'm hungry. Go down to the hot dog vendor, get me a hot dog and a Pepsi. But you don't handle the money. You don't handle the business. You're too silly. Your sister is more, she ain't a clown. And that made me hate her. So, you know, yeah, the fact that he taps into those things, I think is important. And that's what I'm telling these guys who are writing the slavery comedy. I'm going, yeah, it is a comedy about slavery, but I don't want us to lean on the slavery aspect. I mean, you can't escape it. It's what the movie is. But it's got to be about more than that. It's got to be, people got to be able to feel this on a human level.
And that's the point of his joke in the very first place that you see in it. You can do silly jokes. He was talking about running out of jokes, and you can do all the silliness, but what is it? What makes it fun? You can laugh at everything. You can make anything funny, but can you connect with it afterwards? Or was it just a gag to see?
Right.
And I think that that's so important, because what you're talking about here is Sylvester Stallone. We gave him a lot of credit for writing Rocky, everything he did in Rocky. But those human emotions, he kind of bypasses those on some of that. The early one, where Brooks really wants to delve in. That's the focus, is delving into the details of those emotions and how you get past it. I know you didn't see Mom.
No, dude, I've never seen any of his movies.
Mom is a movie that makes you feel bad for feeling like him. Because you see it. You have these same feelings. Maybe you didn't say them the way that he did. That like the scene that you referred to earlier when he says, when his mom goes, "Well, I love you," and he goes, "Well, I know you think you do, and I love you too," and hangs up the phone.
Right.
That's a real emotion, man. That's when someone is just letting you love me, and I know you love me, but you don't love me you don't. You love me in the way that you can, not in the way that love works.
I'm about to butcher it, but it was such a great line or two, the exchange with them, when he said something about he saw the beauty in her failure.
Yeah.
And she said, well, and she puts her hand on his cheek and she goes, well, if that works for you.
Yeah.
But I'm fucking it up because it was uniquely said the way he put it. When she said something about, her passion, her dream, her love was to be a writer, but her husband talked her out of that. So she just became, and he goes, why would you let him stop you from doing the one thing you love? And she goes, because back then women didn't really work and we had to nurture. And he goes, that's partly why she hates her kids, because she's been forced to do something that she's obligated to do as a parent, but that's also stopping her from doing her passion. So in that, contextually, when he says something about
how she failed,
it's
for the first time in my life. I see you. I see you now as a beautiful failure.
Beautiful failure. And she didn't get what he was saying. That's why she went, well, if that works for you.
But it was the beauty that she wanted. She became the mom and was able and failed herself, her career.
Right.
And was the mom, not and failed honestly as the nurturing mom. But the beauty in that, the opening yourself up, and this is what the hardest place is. I think first of all, it takes us a long time to really feel who we are as people, and then to be able to create it on paper, and then to give it to someone else so that you can make that happen on screen. You know how open you have to be to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's open to the point where you aren't normal, and he's not normal. You're open to the point where you're way past a regular thinker. You're on a different level. Yeah. But that's also the thing with him. He is very stubborn. He's opinionated. He was told at a young age that he was a genius, and I think he believed that, and he continued to go in that vein.
Check. Keep going.
But I love the fact, and like I said, Mark Maron talks about it. I wanted to get him on the podcast. He's had unbelievable people from comedy on the podcast, and he can't get him on the podcast because he doesn't pay people to be on the podcast. You can promote your stuff. You can do all your stuff.
That's worth the pay.
But he wants a minimum, and Mark doesn't pay anybody. He made it a point. He doesn't pay anybody. And so now he said, no, I don't leave. I'm not leaving. When am I going to get up and go do your show?
I would have paid him.
I know. I understand that. And I got to see one of the greatest things that I got to do by luck, by chance. I got to go to the Kimmel show when I was in LA one time because I know his sister. She's a comedian from Phoenix, Jill Kimmel. She's working a lot right now. She's doing real well. And so I went out to LA. She could get us to go see the show, and gets us to go into the green room, the green room before the real green rooms, the main green room. Right. And so you get to go there and you get to hang out, and it's real nice. And they really take care of it. They're really nice to us, and I really thank Jill a lot for letting us do that. But I got to go on one night. I think someone canceled, and they had Albert Brooks come on.
Right.
And the reason I think he canceled is because I remember saying something. He wasn't promoting anything. He was just on the show. And it was the greatest to see him. I was so excited because that's the problem with him. I was so excited to see him because I know who he is. I know that I love what he's done. I'm excited about him, but I'm not. When you ask me if you ask me who I like as a comic writer or director, whatever, he doesn't jump out of my head because he's so much like a regular guy to me.
He said my last note on this, when they talked about how he finally met his wife, which led to kids. And I felt like, dude, like I said, I was in a bad mood. I'm in some shit with my it's an ongoing fight that I have with my baby mother, who I'm trying to get back with, but it just seems like this is a fight that I don't know that I'm going to win. And he said, he was on Kathy Lee and Regis, and he said, one of them asked him, when did you, or Rob Reiner may have said it, what made you finally settle down and this girl and blah, blah, blah. I just stopped looking. Like, it's like when you chase and you want it so bad, it seems to run. But when you finally just say, I'm not chasing no more, and you just stop looking, and then it came to him. And it's funny, when we talked about, we just said it, life doesn't happen to you, happens for you. And I don't know if this is some godly mother-like gift that women have or moms have, like an intuition where they can, like they sense something. Like if fucking certain animals from 2 miles away, they can smell the meat, the prey. My mother, I want to read something to you. It was so funny. We're talking about this shit with mom. I want to read a text exchange between me and my mother, and it's so ironic that Albert Brooks and mother and all this is being discussed. My mother goes, "Good morning, Aries. How are you feeling physically and mentally these days? Just curious." And when my mother says certain things to me, I'd be like, "This bitch trying to fuck with me a little bit." My mother challenges you that way sometimes. Yeah. And she words things and says things to me in ways where I know she's my mother. I know I got to be respectful, but I be wanting to remind her, hey, I ain't your child no more. I ain't under your roof where you pay the bills. You don't feed me, clothe me. Talk to me like a man, not your child. So I reluctantly, fine, and you, quite well, Aries. Enjoy the day weekend. You too. Then the other day, yesterday, she goes, here's something to think about as you age. You were born 2 months premature. You weighed 2.5 pounds. Hospital protocol for preemies was that your weight had to be at least 4 pounds before I could bring you home. Even as a preemie, though, your lungs were strong and your voice louder than the regular birth babies. Now, in my head, I'm going, where's she going with this? So I hit her back. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm reluctant because I'm like, is she about to fuck with me? And then she hits me. The marvel of your survival coupled with the odds is deeper than a judgment of good or bad, Aries. It is the stuff of providential miracles and indicative of the map of roads ahead full of contradictions, oncurrences, and confluences, exactly like the dynamics that propelled you early from my womb to this secular life. You are now at a vortex of change. How does that feel to you? Good, mysterious, unsure, exhausting, rest well. Now, in my mind, I'm just going, what the fuck is my mom? Why are you riddling me? Where are you going with this? But then I text her back, I believe your words hold power, Mom. Please pray for me and ask God to keep me alive long enough to accomplish my goals, even through my mistakes. I know you're in my corner till my end. Whenever that is, I know I can sleep easy. I love you. Thank you. Now, just now as we're talking about this, I get this text. I always pray for you no matter what. I intuit.
Did she get a $10 a lot of money?
No, I think I'm saying that wrong.
No.
Intuit, like a intuition.
Yeah, I think so.
Intuit and or ignore. You are my son. The Creator has been pretty good to you thus far. His blessings are his gifts to you that you share with and inspire people with your wit and humor. Your gifts back to the Creator, and yes, they are expected, is humility, grace, and the continual growth of your insight. These are things instrumental to your reaching those goals you still want to achieve, whatever they may be. Stay in awareness about your armor, and you will continue to shine bright as ever. I love you. That timing is crazy to me, that we are talking about this, and I get that text. So is this life to me or for me?
Life's always for you.
And I'm going through what I'm going through with my baby moms.
Life is always for you. It's the interpretation, man.
I'm done.
That's a show.
Yeah.
I'm going to give out some dates. Uh-oh.
What happened?
I'm not on the right place yet. I'll be there in a second, though.
I think Riddick Bowe's coming to the show tonight.
Really?
Yeah, I just got a text from, yo, big man, we coming through to see you. Riddick Bowe, Johnny, and my pastor. Can't wait to see you. Missed you when you were here in Orlando.
Oh, that's going to be funny.
Yeah.
That's going to be
funny.
With the pastor.
You know what I mean? With the pasta.
All right, guys. Where are we? Hey, man, we're going to be in Ontario, California.
Funny joke, real quick. There was a clip with Steve Harvey on Family Feud, and he had an African family on, and he said the question was, what's the one thing a wedding can't what's the one thing a wedding can't do without? In order for the wedding to happen, what's the one thing that you have to have?
I saw this one.
Yeah, an African guy goes, the pasta. And Steve said, they don't serve food at the wedding. You can eat food at the wedding, dog. No. And then finally when Steve got it, no, the pasta. He was trying to say pastor, but he said pasta.
Yeah, that is such a funny. The outtakes from that show.
Yeah,
just such a great job.
I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. I like watching all those outtakes. Listen, guys, again, we're going to be in Ontario, California, November 16th to the 19th. We're looking forward to going out there. This is like the beginning of our West Coast swing right now, and it's so exciting to start off there. November 24th to the 26th, we're going to be at the San Jose Improv. December 1st to the 3rd, we're going to be at the Tacoma Comedy Club in Tacoma, Washington. December 7th to the 10th, we're not at Magooby's. That got canceled. We're off that week, and it didn't get canceled. It got moved to the beginning of the year. So go get your tickets refunded, rechanged, whatever you need to do, but you got to come out and see us. It's almost a month from that date. December 15th to the 17th, we're going to be at Summit in Fort Wayne, Indiana. December 21st to the 23rd, we're at Bricktown Comedy Club in OKC, and December 28th to the 30th, finishing up the year at the Improv in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So, guys, get your tickets. Come on out. Please if you enjoyed this. Listen, I don't say this at the beginning of the podcast, and I probably should. I say it at the end because if you liked what you saw, if you enjoyed the podcast, if you got all this delivered to you with no charge, can you just like and subscribe to the podcast? Can you tell others to like and subscribe? Well, don't tell them any of what I just said.
To subscribe.
Yeah, tell them to like and subscribe. Fuck it. Forget it. There's a button. Push that fucking button.
Like and subscribe.
Thank you, man.
Also, to any Lou, God, you're Vortex, nigga. I'm telling you. You are like a fucking tornado. Yes! God. To any new listeners, if you want to write into the pod, Aries Spears 45 at Hotmail. I know every now and then I get a Instagram message from one of y'all. I go, how do I write it? So I be forgetting sometimes to just shout that out. So if you want to write in, Aries Spears 45 at Hotmail, make sure you get your grammar and your spelling right. Otherwise, you will get a $10 a lot of money.
And thanks to all the people in Tampa that came out to listen to the podcast, came over and said hello. That was cool. We had quite a few this week.
Yeah, man. We like penis with stimulation. We start getting erect, we grow. That's it for me.
That's a podcast.
Spears and Steinberg.
Thanks for listening to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. If you'd like to know who's responsible for this shit, it was hosted by Aries Spears and Andy Steinberg, produced by Steve Merrick and Anthony Holmes, executive producer, Big Papa, Robert Kelly, and Matt Kleinschmidt for the Laugh Button podcast. For more information on where to find us on the internet, visit SpearsburgPod.com.